show you how great I am. Great I am. Great I am.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Your Daily Greats. My name is Jack Van Der Heyden, and this podcast is to shed light on the journey of self-development, being better, however that looks like for you. I'm just a dude trying to be better than I was yesterday. I feel like this is something we can all relate to at some point in our lives. We've tried to be better, and maybe we're working on it right now. Maybe you're working on it right now. I know I certainly am. Covered many topics in the last couple of episodes of the Daily Greats, mainly touching on that self stuff. Now, I wanted to talk about the accountability. That's a big one. The big A, we'll call it accountability. How do you hold yourself accountable? Excuse me. How do you hold yourself accountable where it's on you? For instance, you turn up at work at a certain time because that's what we do. When you got the job, you agreed with your boss or whatever that you'll start at that time. And normally, we're pretty good at it. We get there on time, minus a few sleep-in days or traffic, kids, life gets in the way. Excuse me. But you're normally pretty good. So you would say you're accountable because you're accountable to you hold yourself accountable to show up on time. But are they holding you accountable? I'd probably say yes. Most places are like, hey, you were late yesterday or you're late today. What's going on? Please don't do it again. We need you here on time. But what does accountable for yourself mean, really, to you? What does it mean? How do you hold yourself accountable? Because you're not paying yourself to turn up to places. Unless you are, then that might be different. But how do you hold yourself accountable to put clean socks on, to put clean undies on, to make the bed, to do certain things that fill your cup up? Do you hold yourself accountable for those things? Or do you let them kind of slip to the wayside? Let them go down deeper and deeper where you're just not really doing them because you don't really have to be accountable for it. I don't know. A past version of me never held myself accountable. It was always someone else's problem. It was never my fault. I would always blame it and make excuses on other things, whether it be my weight, not saving enough money, not being where I wanted to be. It was all on me. It's the shit thing about accountability for yourself. It starts with me. And this goes back to the core level of this podcast, Your Daily Greats. I start every day with I ams. I write them down, whether it be on my phone, on my notepad at work, or sometimes I just say them to myself because I don't have time, and that's okay. But I always make sure I let myself know in one way or another that I am enough and I am great. Super simple, but that's something I do. I hold myself accountable to lift myself up. Sure, there's days where I just feel like staying in bed doing nothing. I think we can all relate to that. It is easy to do nothing. It is hard to do this shit. This is the thing. It is hard to be better. This ain't easy. That's the thing. If it was easy, we'd all do it. It's like those TV shows you see, 15-minute abs. Doesn't take 15 minutes. Maybe it's 15 minutes every day for a year. That might get you them. We've all got abs, by the way. Some are just covered by layers of fat. We're working on it. So taking ownership, I suppose, of tasks and yourself is what I want to get at. Taking ownership of what you want to hold yourself accountable for. I don't know what that is. It can look like so many different things, and I think it's important. Maybe find a quiet space, that time on the way home from work, Maybe you're on the train. Maybe you're just chilling, listening to a podcast or a book. Take that 5 minutes and write down a few things you want to hold yourself accountable for. Like I said, you have a job most likely. You turn up at a certain time because you hold yourself accountable to do that. If you sleep in, shit, I've got to text the boss. If I'm sick, oh shit, I've got to email or call in. And you do it. But what about when you want to do something for you? What does that look like? Do you procrastinate? Do you put it off till Monday or tomorrow, or I'll do it next week? I'll do it when the weather's better. I'll do it when this, I'll do it when that. I should be agreeing because I do this all the time. It's very common, it's normal, but we're working on ourselves to be better. So that starts with that self-accountability, holding myself accountable. How I do this is if I say in my head that I'm going to go for a run, I'm going to go for a run. I could be walking on that run. I could stop on that run, but I'm going to come home from work. I'm going to get some water in me. I'm going to get my running gear on, and I'm going to get out the door. As much as I don't want to do it, I know I have to do it because I'm trying to hold myself accountable. I heard a very interesting quote a few years ago. I don't know who said it, but it's a very famous quote. What are you if you can't hold your word to yourself? As in, if you can't keep your own word, then what kind of person are you? We always do everything for other people. You are probably a really kind person. You probably put everyone else first. Does that hit the nail on the head? And then yet, we always put ourselves last. So, say, write it, do it. Write it, say it, do it. But remember, if you start holding yourself accountable, you will see a change. With all these things, remember, you don't have to start climbing Mount Everest. You have to climb a small mountain before you can get to the big dogs. The cliche sayings, we've touched on this before. You got to crawl before you walk. You got to walk before you run, yada, yada, yada. You really have to just start with something little you can hold yourself accountable to. I'm always going to brush my teeth at this time, and do it. Because what are you without your word? If you can't keep your word to yourself, Jesus. And when I heard that the first time, I was like, fuck. Like, if I can't hold the word that I say, that I'm going to do something, then I'm letting me down. Like 100% me. And you'll go to a job where you work, 5, 8, 12 hours, whatever, 10-hour shifts, sometimes more, sometimes less. For a company that necessarily doesn't care about you, and they don't have to, as long as the money's coming in, ticking boxes, that's business, and that's life. But yet, you don't put that time into yourself. You get home, I'm tired, I'm sore, I've been at work all day. So, hold yourself accountable, do something for yourself. Again, it doesn't have to be exercise. It can be anything. Maybe your thing is, I'm going to just switch off for a bit. I'm going to have a nap. Try and do something, I suppose, that's not sedentary. Try and move. But it doesn't have to be exercise. That's the thing. I think we get told that you've got to go and do fitness. I use fitness because it helps my mind, and I'm on this weight loss journey as well, and it's just a lifelong process to do better and eat healthier and be better. So maybe you do need to do some exercise. Maybe you need to up your exercise. Instead of 3 times a week, go to 4. Instead of 4 times, go to 6, whatever. Just do something crazy. Not too crazy that you hurt yourself, though, of course. You gotta stay within your boundaries. That's the thing. We're always trying to climb Mount Everest when we should just be climbing the little mountain. Fuck, we should just be climbing the little hill, that the steepest street in your town. Start climbing that. Because you've got to start small. If you start going for the top, unfortunately, the setback's gonna be harder, and you keep looking up and you go, shit, I'm not getting there. But if you start with a small step, you will get there. It's all part of it. It's all part of the process. It's hard. Be kind to yourself. Trust the journey. Enjoy the journey. And hold yourself accountable. But then, before we end, before we go off for the night, responsible. How do you hold yourself responsible for things? And what's the difference? So, are you taking ownership of what you said you're going to do? Are you responsible to keep yourself accountable? I don't know. I don't know what works for you. If it's holding yourself accountable or responsible, whatever works in your head is the right thing to do. We are so bombarded with everything on our phones, in our faces, people who have done this, people who have done that. And they're always trying to tell us what works for them. But remember, it's got to work for you. It just has to, or else it's not going to work at all. You've heard the saying, there's a million ways to skin a cat. Well, there's a million ways for self-development. And please, if any of this has gone in, I hope you've got some value. Maybe it's all nonsense. I don't know. But just know you're great. You are loved. And whatever you're doing it right. Keep working towards that goal. And you are great. You need to tell yourself at least just once a day. But I'm sure you can do more. Thank you for listening. My name's Jack Van Der Heyden, and this is your Daily Greats podcast. Just a little reminder to let you know that you are great.